We're going to take notes on Section 3 of Chapter 8, Rotations. I don't expect that you totally understand the material. This is just to give you an introduction so that tomorrow during class we can look at some rotations. So write all this down in your notebook. Even copy down the pictures if you can. So rotations. A rotation is a transformation that turns a figure about a fixed point called the center of rotation. So if you look here in my drawings, you see the center of rotation is always at the origin for the first two pictures. On the third one, the center of rotation is at this point, -2, 1. We're going to go over those. So again, don't worry about it just yet. For now, just get the information down so that we can talk about it tomorrow during class. You also need to know about rotational symmetry, which happens when a figure can be rotated 180 degrees or less and can match the original exactly. So for example, the picture that I have, you do not need to copy down the picture, has rotational symmetry. We're going to practice some of these. So copy down all the words. If you need to pause the video, pause the video. If you can, do some rough sketches of these three pictures so that you understand how things are rotated. And if you notice, these three rotations, actually these first two, are rotated clockwise. And we're going to talk about clockwise versus counterclockwise. So again, I don't expect you to know and understand this 100%. This is just to give you an introduction. After you have the notes, go ahead and move on. So here's what I was just talking about. When we rotate things, we can either go clockwise or counterclockwise. So clockwise, again, goes like a clock. So you would rotate something that way around the origin if that's what is your center of rotation, or counterclockwise, which is the opposite way. So go ahead, draw these in your notebook. If you need to pause the video, pause the video. When you're ready to move on, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so write down example 1, finding the angle of rotation in the figure. Write down the notes. So find the number of degrees the figure rotates. Assume the rotations are clockwise. Okay, so write all that down. And then let's just draw this first picture. So we're just going to draw this first one. So if you look, every time you rotate, you can calculate the number of degrees of rotation. So on this one, you know to go all the way around is 360 degrees. You know you've rotated it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Divide that by 5, and you should get 72 degrees. So that's how we know the degrees of rotation. Here on this picture, you don't need to copy it down, but if you look at it, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, if you take 360 degrees and you divide it by 8, you should get 45 degrees. Here we have another example. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 360 divided by 6 gives you 60 degrees of rotation. So we're going to look at Mrs. Miller's crazy sea star. And there's 18 arms, and it's over 360 degrees. So if we do the math, each degree of rotation should be about 20 degrees. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause the video. Again, I don't want you to understand this 100%, but just have a basic understanding so that tomorrow during class we can go over it. If you have questions, go ahead and write those on the side as a notation, and then you can ask those tomorrow during class. Okay, so you're going to do this one on your own. So if the figure at the right has rotational symmetry, find the angle of rotation. If it does not, write no rotational symmetry. So in your notes, you can write quick check, number 1, and it's also on page 265 in your notebook. So you're going to go ahead and try that, and you're going to put an answer in the text box on the right. Please go ahead and check your answer with my answer. So I found that there were 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could count the light ones or the dark ones. It doesn't matter. There's still going to be 5. So, whoopsie, typo, over 360 degrees. So 360 divided by 5 gives us 72 degrees. So check your answer. If you have a question about that, go ahead and write that on the in your notebook, and we can go over that tomorrow during class. Okay, so we're going to graph a rotation. What you will need to do is first you're going to need to actually write example 2, graphing rotations in your notebook. I need you to copy down the graph with the 3 points so that you have that as a reference. Okay, so you should have paused the video, copy down the picture. Okay, so now we're going to take that triangle and we're going to rotate that 90 degrees about the origin. And then we want to name the coordinates A, B, and C. In this book, we're going to assume that all rotations are counterclockwise unless we state them otherwise. Okay, so how are we going to do this? We want to go counterclockwise, so we know we want to move it to the left. So if this point is 1 away from this y-axis, it should now be 2 away from this axis. So that's where C should start. If this is 7 and 4, we're going to make it go 4 and 7. Oopsie. And then, so that's A. This was C. So then B should be 4 and 7 over here. So let's see what happens. Hopefully that's the right thing. So my screen is going to change, but it'll come back. So just give me a second. Okay, so that's my first point. So there are my points. Okay, so as I said, there's the 2 and the 2. There's the 4 and the 7, and there's the 4 and the 7. So please make some notes to yourself that you understand how those changed. So C became that. B, and it's hard to tell with C because they're both 2s, but B was 7 and -4, and now it's 4 and 7, and this was 7 and 4, and now it's -4 and 7. So take a note of that. Again, if you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause the video. I don't assume you're going to understand this 100%. It's going to take us a couple days of practice. So don't get upset. We're going to practice for at least 2 days. This is the hardest concept in this chapter. Okay, now I'm going to have you try this one. So I need you to copy down the picture. Okay, if you need to, you can go to page 266 in your book. So I have my original picture, and we want to holy cow, what are we supposed to do? Pause for a second. Okay, you're going to do 2 of these. You're going to first do 180 degrees. So maybe try to make that one color, or that could be A prime. Then you're going to do 270 degrees. And that's going to be a double prime. Or you can use 2 different colors, but still label them that same way. So again, just try this. See what happens. There is no text box on the right, because you can't write any answers down, really. So we're going to look at this tomorrow during class. So again, just try your best. See what you can do. Another thing you could actually try is you could actually take a piece of paper. You could cut out this triangle. You could label A, B, and C, and then you could physically take that cutout and rotate it and trace it and copy it. So there's 2 different ways you can do this. You can visualize it just by moving things, or you can actually cut out the triangle with a piece of paper, label your A, B, and D, and then move that around. Try either way. Again, we're going to go over these in class tomorrow. Okay, go and check how you did your points versus how I did my points. See what you get. It looks like I forgot to label A and D, which is not good because then it's hard to see how they've changed. So make sure you've labeled all of your points. So A should have been -5 and 2, I believe. Yep, because then look at that, and then look at that. And D should be -2, +1. Okay, and look at that. The numbers are same, but in different order and some negatives. And again, we're going to talk about that. Don't stress about it. So go ahead and copy that into your notebook. Okay, so that's all I need you to copy down just to get a basic understanding of rotations. Again, we're going to practice this for at least 2 days. This is a tough concept, so don't worry if you don't get it yet. We'll get you there. See you tomorrow during class.